go ahead and get started. Do we have any new people attending Race for Recovery for the first time tonight? No. Thank you. If you have any questions or you need any schedules, you can get with us after the meeting, and we can do that for you.
All right. Support group meeting guidelines. Thank you for attending the Racing for Recovery support group meeting. We are focused on maintaining a drug-free and healthy lifestyle. Since 2001, our open forum meetings welcome parents, adolescents, recovering individuals, and anyone who supports our mission. Your suggestions, comments, or ideas are welcome to make our meetings the best they can be. The Racing for Recovery support group meeting is a cutting-edge alternative to what is currently offered. By combining substance abusers, families, friends, and the public at large, we have created an environment that is beneficial to everyone who has been affected by drug or alcohol addiction. Meeting start time is at 7 o'clock. Please be here on time. Please turn off ringers, turn off cell phones or ringers to vibrate. Please refrain from posting on social media during the meeting for respect and courtesy to yourself and others. Please, only one person speaking at a time. Please speak loudly so that everyone can hear. Proof of attendance is gladly provided. Please turn in your paperwork prior to the meeting, and you can pick it up at the end of the meeting. Honesty is required. Feel free to openly share your comments and points of view on how alcohol and drug addiction has impacted your life. This meeting is open to people of all ages and welcomes diversity, so please refrain from using excessive foul language or language that discriminates against any race, gender, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, or disability to maintain an atmosphere of respect and dignity for all who are present. If you see a visitor, a new member, or a returning member that you haven't seen in a while, please warmly welcome them into our program. What you say here will not be discussed outside of the meeting. Refrain from leaving the meeting while it's in progress because it is destructive to others. Smoking and vaping are no longer on our property. Please discuss about trash in the garbage can and recycle.
Thanks, man. Who's got the guidelines for living a lifestyle of recovery?
Hi, Alina. Guidelines for living a lifestyle of recovery. The lifestyle of recovery guidelines are intended to be utilized by recovering individuals, their families, and anyone else who is striving to avoid substance abuse and achieve sobriety. Guidelines. 1. Recognizing that substance abuse ruins lives. 2. Wanting to pursue positive alternatives to substance abuse such as our education, employment, quality relationships. Oh shoot, I'm so sorry. Wanting to pursue positive alternatives. Okay. 2. Wanting to pursue positive alternatives to substance abuse such as our education, employment, quality relationships, and health and fitness. 3. Using resources such as friends, family, teachers, and peers as a way to achieve and remain sober. Adding sports, art, or music to these resources will help us to stay focused and motivated. 4. Defining balance and working toward making it a part of everyday life. 5. Building self-esteem and confidence through sobriety to combat negative feelings regarding oneself. 6. Understanding that negative behaviors of isolation and self-pity lead to self-destruction. 7. Lifting a person up is different than allowing them to continue their destructive lifestyles. Be there for yourself and be patient with your friends and family. 8. Learning how to help without supporting the addict's behavior. Providing assistance to the recovering individual that will improve their lives, not further their usage. 9. Recognizing personal grading style. 10. Caring for our personal, emotional, physical, and spiritual individuality is the source we use for our sense of worth. Each person is truly magnificent. Our mission at Racing for Recovery is to prevent all forms of substance abuse by promoting a lifestyle of fitness and health for all those affected by addiction.
Thank you. Who has What Racing for Recovery Means to Me by Kelly Anderson?
I'm Phil. What Racing for Recovery Means to Me by Kelly Anderson. I respect yourself enough to quit using. A. Accept the challenges that lie ahead. C. Commit to recovery. I. Include friends and family on your journey. N. Never doubt your will to succeed. G. Give yourself credit for your accomplishments. F. Focus on the positive things you want in life. O. Overcome your fears and keep moving forward. R. Remember the reasons you're seeking sobriety. R. Reach out to others to give and receive support. E. Expect holes in the road. Choose another road. C. Care for your body. We only get one in this lifetime. O. Open your heart, mind, emotions, and spirits. B, victory comes from a balanced lifestyle. E, educate yourself on all aspects of recovery. R, racing for recovery saves lives. Y, you will learn with sobriety, anything is possible. Thank you. Except for you.
Time for introductions. We're going to go around the room. We want to know who you are and why you decided to join us tonight. You do not have to identify as an alcoholic and addict, but if that helps you in your own recovery, please feel free to do so. We'll start with Dustin.
All right. I'm Dustin. I come here just to start the week off right, get ready to spend Christmas with my family, which will be my first Christmas without them in a long time, so that's going to be good. Good meeting.
My name's James. I'm here because this place and everybody in has been very beneficial to changing my life.
Michael, I'm here to be sober.
I'm Ward. I'm here to listen.
John, I'm going to do smart but positive. I'm Steve. I'm here for the positive atmosphere.
Hi, I'm Deanna, and I chose to be here tonight to refocus on myself.
I'm Craig. I'm here for motivation.
I'm Chris. I have a lot of emotional turmoil I need to get rid of.
I'm Gina. I'm here to remain positive.
I'm Brandon. I'm here because this is where I learned to love myself. I'm Adam. I'm here because this place works for me.
I'm Edna. I'm here because I don't want to be anywhere else.
Wow. I'm here to listen, learn, and apply. My name's Kyle. I'm here to learn for support.
My name is Christy. I'm here for support.
Richard here for support, and I have 92 days.
All right.
My name's Nicole. I'm here to learn and support RJ.
I'm Zach. I'm here because I heard it was a good meeting.
My name's Phil. I'm here for support.
My name is Rashad. I'm here for structure and maintain my sobriety.
Bill, here for guidance.
Kevin, here to change my life.
Russ, here to stay positive.
My name is Brandon. I'm here to start my life over.
Paul, here for positivity. Stay tuned.
My name is Nick, and I'm here because I love this place.
My name is Tim. I'm here because this is my new normal.
My name's Corey. I'm here for guidance.
I'm Samantha. I'm here to continue my day. I'm Laura. I'm here for support to stay sober.
I'm Amber. I'm here to learn.
I'm Ashley. I'm here because this place is giving me success. So far.
So, just first.
Mike, just come to stay connected.
I'm Troy. I come here to maintain sobriety, and this is the best place for me to be right now.
Kurt, I'm here for support.
Pauline, I'm here to continue learning how to heal from the traumas.
I'm Emily. I'm here because this is where I need to be. That being said, I made the choice this weekend to move over to Logic.
I'm Amy. I'm here to follow my dreams, and I've got 2 months as of Saturday.
I'm Matt. Go Vikings. And I'm here for happiness.
I'm Steve. I'm here because this place gives me a chance to find out who I really am.
I'm Jeff. I'm here because I can't do this shit alone.
That's right.
I'm Ryan. I'm here to keep my goal.
I'm Christine. I'm here to continue healing, and according to my app, yesterday was 5 months.
I'm Wesley. I'm here because I'm sick. I need to get my medicine. That's why I can get it from.
I'm Jake. I'm here for positivity and to keep moving forward.
I'm Chris. I'm here for peer support, learn about myself and to grow.
I'm Teresa, and I'm here for support and to remain positive this week since I won't be here the next couple of days, spending time with family.
I'm Allie, and I'm here for direction.
I'm Michael, and I'm here for education and growth.
I'm Matt. I'm here to stay on the right track.
My name's Jesse, and I'm here because I value my life.
My name's Monica, and I'm here to be a better version of myself.
My name's Joe. I am here. It's part of my routine, and a lot of stuff's changing recently in my life, but this place is my consistent part, so I keep coming because it keeps working.
My name is Dustin, and like Dustin said, this is my favorite way to start the week. This is the last meeting before the holidays, man. So it's, you know, and like Joe said, it's been part of my routine so long. It's one of my things that I stay consistent with. Who has the answer?
I do. The answer by Donald D. Carr. Running from the misery, trying to escape the pain. As I approach the light of hope that lies before me, each step overwhelms me. Every breath sears my throat. I ache, my body rebels against me. My memories torment me. Agony has become my closest companion. My demons mock me as I dangle helplessly above the abyss of alcohol and drug abuse. The voices all sound the same, criticizing, accusing, blaming me for what has happened. They don't understand, they don't care who I am. I am a human being, full of thoughts and feelings. I am worth saving, just show me the way. At last, I've reached the light of promise. There stands the answer. Open arms, understanding smiles, looks of trust. And so it begins, bracing for recovery.
Thank you. Announcements, there will be no meeting on Wednesday. Thursday night meeting will be as scheduled. Anybody else know anything I don't? Okay, as you can see from the introductions, our meetings are for everyone affected by self-destructive behaviors. No topic is off limits. If you have a question or something you'd like to discuss before the meeting starts, we encourage you to bring it up now. And we have a couple books up here if somebody needs any. We have 4 books left. 3 books left.
What's the schedule for the weekend?
That I don't know. I can get that to you after the meeting. Yeah, anybody want to bring up anything with the holidays coming up before we get into the book? Everybody's good? All right, in the thick book, we are on page 170, and in the regular, the thinner one, we are on page 81, on the danger of self-pity. Who wants to read?
Because I don't have an MD, I'm not allowed to recommend medication for my clients. But even if I were a medical doctor, I wouldn't recommend medication without really critical need. Don't get me wrong, I am in favor of anything that will help someone recover and get better. If someone has been off drugs for a year and is still having psychological problems and a psychiatrist feels medication can help, I'm all in favor. But I'm also in favor of trying to do that might help by resorting to medication. I don't take medication myself, and I could. I think suicidal ideation actually qualifies me for some serious antidepressants, but I won't take them because for me they'll just mask the real problem, self-pity. Remember what I said earlier about getting to the heart of the reasons why you drink and use things is the most important part of the recovery. And that process should be a precursor. That one. To any drug. Therapy and drugs can work together. One bolstering the other. But I think drugs without therapy is just kicking the can down the road. Self-pity is surrender. It's admitting that your problems are the biggest, strongest part of you, and that you are helpless to change anything. Back in 2005, while I was pursuing my master's in counseling, I worked as a case manager at a mental health center. And a regular client who was bad addiction, his financial problems, you name it. But he was so loaded up with the antidepressants and other medications that he couldn't sleep and was having psychotic episodes. He had no hope of dealing with the real problem underneath the crack addiction. He lost the self-pity and hopelessness. One day I asked him to tell me his story. He told me that he had been a long-distance truck driver and someone had committed suicide by jumping in front of his truck. He had started smoking crack to deal with the trauma of that, and he quickly took control of his life. Now he was suffering, and the meds were preventing him from facing his frightening experience and getting past it. The crack was a symptom that medication could not solve. Talking about the suicide started to heal him, and 7 years later, the guy is still clean. Isolation leads to self-pity as inevitably as eating a big meal leads to feeling full. Both lead you to draw conclusions about yourself that have nothing to do with the facts, only your inner pain. Isolation concludes, I'm alone. Self-pity concludes, I deserve to be alone because I'm a horrible human being. When you draw those conclusions and call them good, then you close your mind to asking questions. Why does anybody ask themselves why they drink or use? Because their isolation and self-pity have convinced them that they I already have the answer. You're worthless. You know,
Yeah, just go ahead and finish up.
to get someone to recover, it's important to challenge that sense of self-pity and doom. That's why I focused on asking the big why question. Telling someone who spends 10 years convincing herself she's a piece of crap, no, you're really a good person, is a waste of time. But asking that same person, can you explain to me what happened to make you start using? Can penetrate the self-pity and negativity. I had a guy come to me after being in prison for drug possession. And I found out that he started his addiction at age 17 after his father shot himself in the head. No one had asked him about that before, ever. Getting to the why addiction, which is often hidden under layers of denial and anger, takes clear thinking. That's why medication has to be used with great care. If I counsel someone who's currently on medication, I'll often suggest that they have a conversation with their doctor about how it might be impacting their thinking or their emotions. If backing off or stopping medication with the help of a psychiatrist can help someone confront their reasons for using more effectively, then I'm all for it. No one can be functional while walking around in a state of trauma and pain. It's against the holistic nature of human beings. We can't be riddled with emotional cancer, and physical and financially healthy. Prescribing medication to help someone deal with crippling self-pity reduces that person's to a set of symptoms. We're all much more.
Thank you, James. All right, well. A lot of good stuff in there. I know for me personally, that isolation and that self-pity would, it was a revolving door for me. It would start off with isolation, and then the self-pity would come, and then I would use, and then I would feel bad about using, then there was a self-pity and isolation, and I was stuck in this circle for the longest time. I found Racing for Recovery, and I instantly got involved with people and created a network of support, so if I ever felt some of that coming on, I can call somebody like Joe or Dustin or plenty of other people here, or even get in these meetings. They've helped get me out of, some tough spots, and I think for me that was the most important thing, was to get out of that routine of isolation, self-pity, use. For me, it'd start all over again. Isolation, self-pity, use, and then that brought all types of other emotions, the guilt and all those negative emotions that I was keeping myself prisoner with inside of that addiction. But with some support and help from the staff here, I was able to, move on with that. James.
It was interesting. We was talking about a group, and then my dude over here is really said emotional turmoil. And I told myself, if we have something that has anything to do with what I was talking to group or emotional turmoil, I'm going to share it because I didn't really want to share it. The self-pity things, I brought that up. Because it was like part of healing. When I first came in here, I was a very angry person. I was very hurt, very lost. I didn't want to engage with anybody. I kept everybody at kind of arm's distance and was just kind of feeling them out, see what they were. But I was finding whatever reason I could to not like that person because my emotions were messed up. My emotions just were everywhere. I had so much guilt, shame, all of it, and then, people, but I'm going to give this stuff a chance because I'm broken inside, I'm fucked up inside. I'm a grown-ass man in business, so, and I have all kinds of images of me, so after being here, going to LPs and getting to know people and engaging with people and talking about my shit, about a week and a half now, I've been isolating. All right, my cousin died, my son's aunt got beaten up, so I had some holidays coming up, so I was kind of just in my room, and I always wanted to find that starting point, I was saying the group, that starting point that started my downfall to where I ended up using again, where I was like, fuck it, and I just wanted to use. So the growth of it is I see what I was doing, like I identified, and you're isolating. The reason why you're all pissed off is because you're not working on it, you're just in your bed, in your head, and that's the worst place for me to be, especially with all kinds of emotions going on. So I have been complaining. I'm like, you know, why are you messed up? Why? You know, and what's the first step? Well, for me, it's get back in and working out again. You know, so first thing this morning, I went in there. I switched up because I never worked out in the morning. It was always like in the afternoon. So I did it in the morning. But the benefits of everything, man, is I'm not an angry person anymore. And we're happy. I have solutions to emotions that I've never really had before. Or I just covered it, anger. You know, everybody's got a different story. Everybody's got different traumas. Everybody's got a different thing. We all got a lot in common, man. We're all looking for a better life. So just keep on going.
Good stuff, James. Rabbi? Go ahead.
You know, as we were reading about the gentleman that was a long-distance truck driver, where somebody jumped out in front of him, that immediately took me back to, it was around 1996, or either a couple of years before, there was a young lady in the program. She would always say that she could see the monster. She had went back out, and Ron C's person. I thought you knew. Okay. Anyway, so she was back at the truck stops and that, and she ended up walking in front of a truck on the highway. And when they called her guy, and he took a friend with him, my friend Myrtlewood, and ended up, she told me that she could see the monster that the girl had been talking about, which leads me to, each time I would go out, I could see the monster. I didn't look. Even if I wasn't high at that particular time, I can look in the mirror and it would be like, who is that person? It's like, to me, I don't know, when I looked at my eyes, it was like, I don't know, to me I could see the monster. Now when I look in the mirror, I don't see the monster anymore. And I don't know if my mind just created that I looked a certain way. No, it didn't, because my daughter could tell. Even though I wasn't high when I would go to her house, she could tell that I had been using. And even the grandkids would kind of look at me a little like, what's wrong with grandma? But anyway, those days are over. And I like how Todd mentioned about not using for a year, and if a psychiatrist thought you needed medication, then to try it, because that's what I did. My therapist thought I needed meds, and I said, well, let me get a year first, and then we'll revisit that. And we did. And, and I still take medicine today. It's been, I don't know, 29 years that I've been on for the depression. But at any rate, I could really identify with this. You know, I've heard in some meetings where people have said, you know, you don't take anything, you shouldn't take anything. It's like, that is so, I have to speak up when people say that, because they're not MDs or doctors. You know, we have met, I have met out, you know, and with going through the therapy, you know, and trusting that I thought everything would clear up after a year, and it did. And I went on and said yes, and I'm glad I did, because I have the suicidal ideation sometimes. You know, I've tried stopping them because I thought I'd feel better. It's like, I don't need these anymore. Then I stopped taking them. I would downward spiral, and then I'd use. And so after probably a decade of doing that, it finally, the bell went off. Hey kid, you can't stop taking that medicine, even if you feel good, because the medicine is the reason why you're feeling better. And I know quite a few people that do that like that, because they think, oh, I'm feeling better, I can stop the medicine. But like I said, it took me a decade to put the 2 and 2 together. You know, and I don't feel bad about it. I call that taking care of myself, you know. because I do want to get better. And it just is what it is. I'm just glad that I didn't mess myself up to the point where I've seen some people out on the street that lived normal before, and now they're walking, talking to themselves. You know, not looking good, dirty, and, you know, that could have been me. For real, for real. And it's only by the grace of God that it wasn't me. I'll pass on that.
Thank you. I 100% will not tell anybody what to take or not take. That being said, the holidays used to be tough for me. It was a time before I was sober that I would isolate because I was so ashamed of who I was and where my life was at. So I would skip this holiday stuff. You know, I wouldn't want to see my family because I was embarrassed. They always knew when I was fucked up. You know, I always think I look cool, but I think we all felt that way until we get there, and you know, my mom or somebody would pull me off to the side, and that's the embarrassment and the shame that I used to experience. But now this is my this will be my second sober Christmas, and I can't even explain how much better it's been. I mean, I have a son now. This will be his second Christmas, and I don't know. I'm excited to experience it. I'm excited to be sober for it and be able to remember some of the memories. Because in the past, if I was going to a Christmas party, that's exactly what I was going for, was to party, you know? I would do everything in excess, and I probably wouldn't remember it or cherish any of the memories that I should have. So, but nobody here can relate to anything tonight. Nobody knows anything about self-pity or anything like that, huh? All right, go ahead, Joe.
I'm kind of glad that you brought up self-pity, because going through that whole thing, that was the biggest paragraph that stood out to me. Self-pity is surrender. It's admitting that your problems are the biggest, strongest part of you and that you're helpless to change anything. Because that was the story of my life before I got sober. You know, it didn't matter what that problem was. You know, I would always come back to that same thought process of I'm worthless. And he talks here about isolation leads to self-pity, and isolation concludes I'm alone. Self-pity concludes I deserve to be alone because I'm a horrible human being. And I've been down that spiral so many times I can't even count it. And now that when I get in those thoughts where, you know, if I'm isolated, if it's been, you know, a long day, or it's been just kind of a weird week, I'll get in my head and that'll start happening where it's like, okay, no one's called me, no one's texted me because I'm useless, I'm a piece of shit, whatever you want to lay out. Really, the answer is just everyone else is busy because it's the work day. You know, people are doing stuff that they do. But I still have to remember, when I get in that kind of headspace, I have to snap myself out of it and say, you know, that's not the case. It's not that I'm not worthless, I'm not alone, I'm not going to delve into this pity stuff because I'm better than that, you know. And even this far along in my sobriety, I still get that way sometimes, you know. And it could be when I'm with people. You know, I can start getting negative thoughts that roll through my head. And it's not, I can't trace it back to anything anyone said. It's just how my brain was wired to work for, you know, 27 years before I got sober. So now that when those thoughts come along, it's easier for me to say no. I'm doing that, but it's a tough thing to get through. I mean, at least it was for me. I remember especially around the holiday times, especially when I was first sober, and I was lucky enough to be blessed with a family that supported me 110%, so they didn't allow any alcohol, anything like that in the house for the holidays. But if I go to a work holiday party or something like that, you know, it was tough because you'd see all these people that, you know, normal people, whatever you want to call them, and no one's really normal, let's be realistic. And I would kind of get jealous sometimes and be like, well, you know, man, I wish I could. And now when I go to those parties, you know, like you said, I just kind of have a good time. I relax, I stay in the moment, and I don't really worry about, you know, oh, what if I just had one? Well, I can't have one. I choose not to have one. I don't want to have one. So I just kind of roll past all that and focus on the good things that are happening. So the self-pity piece, I mean, that was a killer for me, trying to get out of that and make sure that now I don't get in it. And it's good, like you said at the beginning of the meeting, to have a network of people, because the people I surround myself out with now, even if I don't realize it and I'm acting funky, they can be like, "You all right, man? You don't seem good. Like, are you off?" And it's usually enough to either get me talking or make me realize, like, okay, maybe I am in a negative headspace and quickly get out of it. So I think having a support group and just having people you can talk to about it that aren't going to judge you for it, at least for me, was a huge help to get out of that kind of self-pity mindset.
Yeah. I think like what you said and what James said is recognizing that, I think, is the first step. It might take some time for some people, but I think recognizing that before you get into that dark space is really important. And, you know, we might go places for the holidays where, you know, you're not surrounded by people that are going to support you and not drink and shit, you know, like, and it's not anybody else's job to keep us sober, you know, because I used to get mad about that too. I go to family events and people are still drinking and shit. I'm like, who are they? They don't give a shit about my problem, you know what I mean? But realistically, like, I was the one who had a problem. They don't, whether that's my family or my friends. You know, it's not their responsibility to, you know, make sure I'm good, which really it comes down to. If I go to a place and I feel uncomfortable or any of those thoughts start arising, you know, I have people I can call, I have people that can pick me up. I have a car, fortunately, so I could just leave if I wanted to. But, yeah, especially around the holidays, man, you're going to run into that work parties. Not everybody has a family that's that supportive where they're going to say, okay, we're going to respect you enough to not serve alcohol. So, yeah, I think having people that are going to support you, and if you get caught in any of those little situations where you feel uncomfortable, it's nice to have people to dial or to call or to get with. Mike.
Yeah, like the reading, it was brought a couple things to mind. I had like kind of a rough weekend. I got sick like Friday kind of evening and was literally just in bed for like 2.5, 3 days. I missed like my aunt's thing and my whole dad's side of the family, my mom's thing on Sunday. And I was just like really bummed out because I was so excited for this year, because like last year I was locked up for most of like Thanksgiving, Christmas, his birthday, my son's birthday, my daughter's birthday. And yeah, I was like just really amped up for, you know, to do my aunt's and my mom's, and it just sucked, man. Like I was just kind of laying there, like I was really sick. I had some kind of virus or something, and finally feeling better now. But I was just kind of laying there, and like I was thinking about like isolation and stuff, and like I was kind of going through my head, and I knew I couldn't really do much about it. I mean, I was just physically wiped out and just had to rest. But so I kind of reached out to a couple of people, and people were checking on me as well. And you know, I stayed in touch with Dan a little bit. And, you know, I got through it. It was fine. But as far as the reading goes, like I like how Todd has kind of discovered this method of like asking those questions, like asking those tough questions, and kind of getting to the why of why people are doing what they do. And for me, that was huge, because I always thought that I just used because it felt good. Like I wanted to do it. It baffled me for a long time. I mean, I've been to different programs and counselors, my parents, their, you know, friends, relationships. Everyone would always ask, "Why, dude? Like, why are you doing this to yourself?" And that was the only answer I had, was I just like to do it, just like to hide, whatever. It wasn't until here, you know, in some of the one-on-ones and some of the IOPs and meetings, where it basically was put to me to where if you're doing this to your body, like, and you're hurting yourself this bad, and you're maybe inadvertently hurting other people through your use, clearly there's something going on within me that I don't care about myself enough to not harm myself, right? So that simple notion was like huge for me. I mean, it was kind of a big eye opener, because that was never really explained to me before. I guess, or maybe if it was, I missed it, I guess, you know, and I wasn't open-minded to it. And I don't know. When I realized that, the gears started turning, and I started looking at some of my past, and I was realizing how much, I guess, trauma and like just situations and things that I had went through. Trauma is such a big word, I feel like, you know, when I used to hear it, I would think, these huge life events that just would drastically change somebody. And like, I was like, I didn't really have that happen. You know, I didn't really have any huge events going on in my life growing up and stuff. So never thought I had any trauma, you know. And but when it was kind of more explained to me that, you know, situations that just made me feel extremely out of place or just like not fitting in, like, or like even how using can be a massive trauma for us, you know, for me. You know, doing that to myself and just being like so detached from reality and from humanity. I mean, that is, I don't know what more is traumatic than that, you know. So once I started accepting and looking at some things in that light, to where, okay, maybe there's some things going on inside that I need to look at. You know, things started changing a little bit. And like, we had a really good meeting this morning in IOP, and we were talking about trauma. And I was talking to Todd a little bit about how, for me, like once I started realizing that stuff, I had to keep moving with it. It was like I kind of backed off, and I was getting some really good work done with it, and then I let life get busy again, and I kind of stopped working on that, and I definitely didn't cover as much as I needed to get into, which led me to some really shitty choices, you know, a couple months ago. But I don't know, it's definitely a learning experience and a journey, and I'm not giving up, that's for sure. I'm so glad I found this to where I can start to learn about some of this stuff and have these questions asked to me that has brought a lot of light to my situation, and it's given me like a lot of hope to overcoming some of this stuff and actually finding some real long-term sobriety. I mean, I've wanted this for years. I mean, at least 4 years or so. But like, I've been seriously putting in effort, and like, why am I still going back? You know, it is so frustrating. If anyone's ever had to deal with that, like, I don't know. I get really frustrated with myself and with the whole process sometimes. But I know if I just keep putting in the work and I stay plugged in, that I can make it happen. So that's what it is.
Yeah, man. That word trauma used to mess me up too, right? Because I always thought, like you said, like it was something so dramatic. I killed somebody in a car crash, or, you know, something crazy dramatic like that. And I was the same way. You know, I drank and stuff because I liked it. You know, and come to find out, similar to what you said, you know, it's like, well, I didn't care about myself, right? So I was destroying myself. And it wasn't until I started caring about myself that I realized, like, oh shit, like, this whole time I've been doing this self-destructive behavior because I don't care about myself. And I didn't think I had any traumas either. I remember like a year ago, I was with Matt Boston one time, and I was just explaining to him something, you know, I don't even remember what it was about like my parents' divorce, but I was talking about it like it was normal. He's like, dude, like, that's a trauma right there. And I'm like, what? Like, that's not normal? Like, you know what I mean? So I think what I did, I don't know, I don't even like saying we, but I think we kind of do that is we normalize some of the things that happen to us, and then we don't think about it as being traumatic, you know? But I've never had anybody ask me questions like the questions I've received here either, you know? So I think that's a huge part of it too, is being asked those specific questions, because before it was always, shit, I just like to get fucked up, you know, like that was it. It was simple as that. I never delved into it to myself or with anybody else. But yeah, I like what you said. And you're right. You got to put in the work. You know, it takes work. You know, and not a lot of people. Time of sobriety, or at least being happy in sobriety without putting in work, having a support group network. I don't know. It's all about the action, man. Chris. Sorry,
with the isolation when I was using, I don't think I noticed that I was isolating myself. I mean, I know I didn't. My parents knew, or whoever knew, that I didn't come around when I wasn't doing good. You know, that was probably about the extent of that. And I don't know about the pity, the self-pity. But I know I used and kept using because I knew I wasn't doing good. I wasn't seeing, you know, I wasn't making the people that I needed to and wanted to happy, proud, seeing I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. You know, there's still disappointment going through. So I guess that is a pit down. Self-pity there. And with the trauma, I can relate to Mike. Like, there wasn't really nothing traumatic. Like, one instance that happened, it was probably an overtime, subtle things I didn't recognize, that added up, and just wanted to use, fit in, or maybe it happened once or twice, and just something I got stuck doing. I think it was said like a Pandora's box. I think I heard it described today, that some of us don't have the trauma in it, and it takes a lot of digging. I guess that's the work that you got to put in, right? You're talking about it takes a little more digging to pinpoint it and to put your thumb on it and to deal with it. And then the traumas come afterwards as a result of using. There's been a few of those. Kind of just hit me in the meeting tonight. I'm like, man, I had some trauma. As a result of using, there's definitely been trauma.
Yeah.
It kind of just snowballed and kept it going and growing, and evolving into darker and heavier things. Gave myself more of an excuse to do worse, to run away. As far away from people as I could that mattered. I'm definitely glad that working enough, thinking enough, being conscious enough of, I guess, where I was at, to be able to identify it, man, and hopefully, get on with it. I'm sure I will. So I guess that's it.
For me, there's definitely, I guess some of the consequences you could look at as traumatic, losing your freedom and, going to prison, shit like that. Like, it was easy to normalize it when I was out there doing all that bad shit, but like, going to prison and shit's not normal. I put myself there by my actions, so I didn't look at it as like a traumatic event. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. Like I had a lot of shit that I did as a result of my using, or the consequences that came as a result of my using that people would consider traumatic. You know what I mean? James, what you got?
So I'm like a serious overthinker, so I'm going to share. I'm kind of everywhere, but I'm going to try to stay on one straight path. My headspace before I came over here, before OP, and I can remember last time I was here, I was always sitting in that corner. And then I started thinking about who I was when I was at Zeph, when I started all this stuff. And then about the emotional stuff that my people said as an introduction. And after I had a lot of shit on my chest, when I opened up and talked about it and got out of that self-pity and stuff, I guess the point I was trying to make by it is, I just don't feel that way anymore. I don't sit over here fucked up no more. I'm just, it's just hard to like work perfect it. It's just, I'm not in that headspace anymore. You know what I mean? And it feels damn good.
It shows.
You know what I mean? It's cool. It's good. I'm just not doing anymore. I'm happy, and I'm realizing a lot of things that keep going on. What I need to apply differently. And a lot of it is connecting with people.
Talk about it. Good stuff, James. Ashley.
So a lot of really good things have been said tonight, and I just kind of wanted to like speak for myself. Like, when it comes to like self-pity, that's a reflection of low self-esteem for me. And like for a person that's been through a lot of traumatic stuff, I'm actually like pretty proud of myself that I'm not more fucked up than I am. But I refuse to play the victim today, because I'm not the victim, I'm the survivor. So for me to That's why I'm very selective on like the stories and stuff that I share, because for one, I don't want anybody to take pity upon me for like the stuff I've been through, because that's garbage. And two is like for me, I reflect a lot in my, like how James was just saying, like I'm an overthinker too, and I reflect a lot about like where I was and where I'm at now, and that's what empowers me. It's not so much like having to speak upon it and be like, oh well, look, this is what this is what I've done, da 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 da, because I'm pretty sure we can all paint a pretty picture of the stuff that we've done, and it's not so pretty, you know. But like, I think that like for a long time, I was stuck in that, oh, all this happened to me, da 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 da, and it got me back to where I was in the first place, you know. But on the other hand, like I was one of those people that there was like an initial reason why I started using, now that I look back on it, but like when I continued my use was because I just enjoyed getting high. Like people would ask me, why do you do this? And I'd be like, because I like to do it. There's no, oh, this happened to me and that happened to me. Like I never really felt the need to explain that to people. I just was like, this is what I like to do. This is what makes me feel good. This was my scapegoat. And so, now that I'm like clean and sober, and we talk about this stuff in group, like, there's more to the story than I even was able to like reveal to myself, you know? And I have like this thing where like I cope by like shutting down when stuff happens to me, and I don't necessarily remember everything, but like being here and like working with like in our group of like talking about stuff, like certain things come out, and instead of it being like this huge breakdown, like crazy experience of like sharing it, it's more like, hey, this is what it is, and like I'm no longer that person, or like, you know what I mean? So I think when you get in the right headspace and are able to process that stuff better, that's when you really are able to like work through the trauma, you know? Because it's not, I no longer own that shit. You know, like I used to walk around like it was like this big bag on my back, like all this shit that I've done, and it's like I mean, I'd rather be free and not have to deal with that shit. I'm sorry, I'm really cussing, but I just think that there's a lot more to people's stories than like how you were saying, like the normalization of like going to jail. I did the same thing because the people I surrounded myself with, that was the normal to go to jail. If you do the crime, you're going to do the time. Like I just was, you know that survey they make you do? Like what percentage of your friends are criminals? Like mine was always 100% because like I didn't know anybody that went to jail. Like, so I think that's like, we make our normal, you know? Kind of crazy, but it's so true. And now I know a lot of people that have been to jail, but they're not going back, hopefully. So with that being said, I passed, but I just wanted to share that.
I think my biggest struggle was letting it define who I was. You know, so that's how I carried it around for a while. You know, I felt like the consequences of my choices define who I was today, which isn't true. They're part of my story, and they're part of the reason why I'm here today. But I don't let them define me. I'm not up here with a number on my shirt anymore or anything like that. That was a big thing for me, was letting that go. Like, it's behind me, it's over with. You know, like I'm not going back, you know what I mean? And I like what you said. Jeff.
Yeah, this is the first Christmas I'm going to see my family in a long time. And right now I'm counting my days of sobriety in days, not months. And some of those days I'm counting in hours, not days. You know, I'm going by the meals. And I'm so nervous about going because I don't want everybody there to be like, you know, coddling me, or I don't want people to have to hide beer from me. I don't want people to have to, you know, hide stuff from me. But I was thinking about what you guys said when you were like, you know, I didn't care about not going to Christmas and stuff like that, and I didn't either. And I didn't realize until this year that like my family did care, you know? Like they want me there. And that was a powerful thing to realize that even after I was so shitty, like such a shitty person, like just a piece of shit, shitty person, like they still are like, hey, you know, come get some of these cookies. So, I'm excited to go. I'm nervous, but I'm hoping, you know, I'm hoping this is the first Christmas of a lot that I never have to miss. That's right. That'll pass.
Good stuff, man. Anybody else? Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, isn't it nice to be wanted? Because I remember there was a point in time where my family did not want me to come.
Yeah, I'm a little apprehensive. Like, I'm a little skeptical about it. Like, I think I'm going to show up and they're going to beat the shit out of me. Super nervous, but when we go, what else are we doing Wednesday, right? That's fantastic.
Anybody else? We got 9 minutes left. Go ahead.
I don't know, there's so much to say, so much we talked about, you know. Like, okay, in the medication stuff, you know, some stuff I guess I gotta take blood pressure medicine and stuff like that. Maybe not, maybe I'll start eating healthier and things will go away, but after being through rehab, you know, I thought I knew everything, you know, because a couple months that I had intense every day sessions for about 7 hours a day. You know, you come out there thinking you need a freaking diploma and that stuff. But, you know, I don't. You know, and I came here going, God, stay in the truck. But I'll play along, you know. Okay, I'm a cake and eat it too. That's what I've always been, you know. But I don't, you know. So I don't know what I don't know yet. You know what I mean? It's like, so I learn a little bit more each time where I need to be and what I need. I don't really have anybody right now that I can, but I don't have anybody I lean on, you know. Let's see, I had a relationship a little bit ago, but I thought it was a match made in heaven, but I screwed that up. So, and then maybe that's why they tell you not to get into a serious relationship for a while, because you got to get your shit together, you know. So, there's a lot of shit I'm learning, and you know, I'm good at what I do, so I can go out and make a ton of money and live recklessly and play games and do that, but eventually I'm starting to learn. I don't know why I did what I did. I had a lot of crazy things happen through my life from here to there, but I don't care. To me, it's like the school of hard knocks. You know, I figure it's just life, you know. Some's got it easy, some got it rougher. My stories are pretty boring compared to a lot of them I heard in rehab, you know. So I'm thinking, you know, shoot. But it's there, you know. I mean, I always abused alcohol for years and years and years and years, you know, and not really realizing, I still don't realize why I did, other than I like it, you know, like that, I like this. You know, and then I raced bikes for a long, long time, you know, and I've had a lot of crashes, and I'm missing some of that stuff they call gray matter. I didn't know what the hell that was. But you don't use all your brain anyway, so what the hell? No, you know, I'll be all right. But it's all I have, but probably there's really some effects from that, you know, I don't know. I've had a lot of concussions. Broken arms, broken leg, broken wrist. Just went to the orthopedic surgeon today to see what we can do about this and that and everything else. But working out works for me, you know. I just hurts a lot more, and I did a lot of bad things to myself. But you know, when I left rehab, they had me on, I won't say what it was, but it's probably one of those antidepressant type meds, and it probably works. But my doctor, like, I'm not blaming nobody but myself for anything I did, you know. I had 20 acres in the country, and I really had all this nice stuff, and Harleys and dirt bikes, and I sold it for shit, you know. And I knew I had to go to the bottom of my rope there, and I was happy with that somehow. That's sick, you know. But, but I didn't think I felt sorry for myself, so I have all these really lofty, cool goals and ideas, and I always let that shit get in the way. So they're always just ideas. If I would just kind of refocus my energies, you know, working out definitely helps, endorphins, you know, whatever it may be, you know, that's always that runner's high. I used to run a lot, yeah. You know, I was training for a marathon 1 year before I overdid it, you know, so I get it, but I don't know. I don't know. I need the adult supervision. So. I'll say it over and over again. I do. I'm okay with that, you know. I used to think I knew it all. used to let hate drive me. I don't hate nobody. I don't hate nothing. I just, whatever it is, you know. I'm happy. Maybe too happy. My doctor said I'm manic. But my doctor, I guess my point I want to get real quick is my doctor would never take me off. I was on pain meds forever till I got to the highest level they could give me. You know, then they sent me pain clinic and methadone clinic and this and that. And I was like, you know what? I got it. I'll become Billy Bob MD. Take care of it. Hell with that shit, you know, because I was getting popped for going to, you know, the pain clinic theory and shit, you know. It was enough of that stuff for me. But so I don't, you know, but it's a boring story, but it's real, you know. So, no. That's it. I guess my doctor would never get me off that. That's what I keep forgetting. How you get so much in your head, you forget what you want to say. But my doctor, and I love him, he would never say, hey, bro, let's get down away from this. You know, when I went to the pain clinic, I said, hey, I want to back away from this stuff. Half-heartedly saying that, you know, also somebody hear me say it. They sent me to the thing across the street and gave me shots in the back, you know, so. He will never get me away from this stuff, like the Cymbalta or whatever that stuff I'm taking. I don't know what the hell that's for, but. It's supposed to be, I got that from rehab, you know, that was a rehab, one of the rehab things they gave me. Remember, like, when I was going to pain clinic, I was taking that, gabapentin. Now, it can be abused like anything, right? You know, like air, but I didn't know that felt like. When you take enough oxygen a day, gabapentin don't touch you. It's like, God dang it. Nobody was there to say, hey, I'm going to help you get away from this. Until it got too bad. I'm doing all right.
Well, there's people here that can definitely talk to you about that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to talk to you about the medication you're taking, whether you should or you shouldn't. Nobody in here, as far as I know, is a doctor, and nobody's going to tell you what to take or not to take. That being said, I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas, and who's got the autobiography? Thanks.
I walk down the street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk, I fall in, I am lost, I am hopeless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. Walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk, I pretend I don't see it, I fall in again. I can't believe I'm in the same place, but it isn't my fault. It takes a long time to get out. Walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it is there, I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open, I know where I'm at, it is my fault, I get out immediately. Walk down the same street, there's a deep hole in the sidewalk, I walk around it, and walk down the street.
Thanks for coming, everybody. If you got a book, please return it up Brian, Mark, please bring it back to us.
I got some level that would not do.